end up selling the land. You end up later on refinancing equity from the land, right? And so you keep on pulling equity from this. The land you own, you can even let people build on it. You can let people build their infrastructure. You can let people buy and sell on your land. But your land, you never sell it. It's always going to be owned by your family. It's in your possession all the time, forever. And so Bitcoin is the same thing. It's not something you're ever going to sell. It's only something you're going to accumulate. And for those of you that say, well, why the fuck am I going to accumulate this and never transact with it or sell it? Because you're going to eventually later on, when it stabilizes in its value, you're going to later on borrow against the value of Bitcoin. You're going to borrow against it to buy real estate. You're going to borrow against it to buy vehicles. You're going to borrow against it to fund your retirement. You're going to borrow against it to buy whatever it is that you actually want to buy in other currencies, right? In other fiat-based currencies. So this is why I say it is an incredible way for you to have a form of asset that is digital, right? And so and again, I'm not saying just go out there and go buy Bitcoin. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that you should have a position in these, so in the event that anything potentially happens, that your Bitcoin, that you have this one Bitcoin, you've taken a lot of time to acquire this one Bitcoin, you have this one Bitcoin, right? You take this one Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin, just let me remind you of this. Think about this. If Bitcoin goes to 10 trillion in market cap, which it was already at like 1 trillion, right? It was the fastest growing brand ever created in history. In 10 years, it became a $1 trillion business. Let's put it that way, right? So think about it this way. If Apple took 30 years, which is the innovation of our lifetime, this phone right here that we are using to communicate from around the world, I just want to remind you of this. If this phone that we are using, this iPhone, this smart device that we are using is so innovative, it took 30 plus years for Apple to become a $1 trillion company. I want you to think about this, okay? They have the best marketing in the world. They have the best brand in the world. Let me show you this. You buy headphones from Apple. You buy headphones from Apple for hundreds of dollars. Fucking headphones, dude. It does the same thing as the ones that you can just put as a cable. You buy just because this is some of the most innovative technology that you've ever seen before, right? If these guys took 30 years to become a $1 trillion company, and Bitcoin took 10 years to become a $1 trillion sector, let's just put it as a sector, that should tell you something. This is some of the most innovative. This phone is some of the most innovative technology that we've ever seen. This is a gift from the gods. No question about it. You know this. This right here, this phone is such a gift from the gods that it has strengthened your relationships with the people that you love at a much faster rate than any other generation before you. It has allowed you to connect with people from anywhere in the world that you were never able to connect with before, unless you sent them a pigeon with a note on it, and the pigeon went and flew a couple miles away and came back and told you that this person was still alive. You would have never fucking known that. This device, back in the day when I was a kid, the way I would know that my buddy was at his house, I would have to go there on my bike, knock on the door, and be like, yo, is Daniel here? And he was like, yeah, he's here. Oh, all right, cool. Hey, what's up, Daniel? What's up, bro? Today, I'll text you, and in 2 seconds, if you don't text me back, you ain't at your phone, I ain't going over, bro. You're probably not there. 2 seconds. This is an innovation of wonders beyond our capability. You can make millions of dollars from an iPhone today, right? Whereas back in the day, in order to make millions of dollars, you needed to start a business that had a physical office, that had a huge facility, that had multiple incredible amounts of employees and all this shit, and sold a bunch of products and did... You don't even need to do that anymore. You can use this fucking iPhone to make a bunch of money. You can manage your real estate, all your real estate from a distance using your phone. It's incredible. This is an innovation of a lifetime. What I'm trying to tell you, if that took 30 years to become a $1 trillion company, then what do you think Bitcoin is getting to $1 trillion in 10 years? It is the new internet. It is the next thing. It is the evolution of currency that we today don't really even yet fully understand. It's like when the internet first came out, we didn't fucking understand it. We were like, it's not worth anything. But let me explain to you. Does anybody know how much the internet, if you wanted to go buy the internet today, do you know how much it's worth? Does anybody know how much the internet is worth right now? If you wanted to go buy the internet, do you know how much it's worth? It's worth $30 trillion. 30 trillion. The internet is worth $30 trillion. Do you know how much the internet was worth when it first came out in the first 2, 3, 5 years? In the first 10 years? Do you know how much it was worth? It was worth nothing. If you right now went back in time and you were your parents, if you right now went back in time and you were your parents and you made a $10,000 investment into the internet in some way at that time in the first 10 years, your parents would be fucking super rich. Like your parents would be super rich. Like if you were one of the first people to get into the internet at the very early stages in the first 10 years, your mind right now, everybody in that first 10 years of its growth, of its success, of its innovation, just going and buying domain names that people were like, oh, this is going to be bullshit. This isn't even worth anything. All of this now today is worth $30 trillion. You can't even buy it. You can't even buy the internet anymore. That's how expensive it is. Fractionalization of the internet now. You can just own little tiny bits and pieces of your own position of the internet, and that's really it. Your own little piece of real estate on the internet, and that's really it. So think about Bitcoin in the same respect. Bitcoin is still at 1 trillion, not even 1 trillion. As it runs up to 10 trillion, it becomes worth $420,000 a token, a coin, right? And if you say to yourself, why would it ever be worth $10 trillion? Why would it be worth? Because it can do collateralization and cross-border payments. And if you don't understand what that is a significant value, and it's deflationary. And so and it's also something that no one actually owns. Everyone around the world can own it without worrying that one country is the one that owns it. No one can control it fully. There can be a lot of servers and farms in a specific country, but if that country becomes overly expensive to generate the energy to produce and mine Bitcoin, that technology will move to another country. And so it's not to mine and to create and to support the Bitcoin infrastructure. It is built, it is programmed to rise. And it is programmed to constantly be moving around and not be fixed in one specific location, which again is incredibly unique because we don't have any currency in the world that's like that. That is something that doesn't exist. So when you think about it, that's like the internet. The internet can be everywhere. It can be hosted on servers across the entire world. It is the same thing, but you're talking about one gives you access to information and another gives you access to your money, but they're both creating independence of these two extremely important things in your life. So of course, Bitcoin is going to be worth an incredible amount of money as more and more countries see the necessity to have cross-border transactions, right? You tell yourself, oh, but why the fuck would you want cross-border transactions? Go to Ukraine. Go to Russia. Go right now to Venezuela. Go to Argentina. Go to Turkey. Go to any of the countries that I've traveled to over the last year. Ask them why they need cross-border payments. You know how difficult it is to take an Indonesian bank and transfer money to the United States, or the United States transfer money into Indonesia? When I started renting my place in Bali, I sent $20,000 for the first month for my rent. And when I sent that over, they blocked my transaction for 2 weeks, the bank, because they thought that they were like, why are you sending money from the United States into, and I almost lost the place that I was trying to live in simply because my wire transfer was on hold. If I would have used Bitcoin, I would have transferred it. It would have been there instantly. Nobody would have been in the middle. Nobody would have been telling me a fucking thing. Everybody would, for me to travel 12 different countries and take all my money with me, right? For me to travel 12 different countries, where is this and take all my money with me, I needed to take my Trezor. This is all I needed. I don't need to take anything else. I just need to take my Trezor, my hardware wallet. That's all I needed to do. And I could take millions in my pocket, in my bag. I could be in one country and I can send you money, and then I could be in another country the next day and I can send you money, and nobody disrupts the middle of that transaction. Nobody tells me, hey, you can't send that money to that person. Nobody. All I got to do is just use this. This, I'm telling you, is an innovation that you don't want to bet against. Because when you bet against it, you're going to lose. That's like you're becoming your grandparents when you say that Bitcoin is going to be worth, like Bitcoin's shit and it's going to be worth nothing. You're becoming your grandparents when you said, when your grandparents were like, I'm not going to use do you remember when you told your grandparents, look at this iPhone. Look at this iPhone. Look at Facebook. Look at Instagram. And they always told you the same thing. That's a waste of time. That's bullshit. That's all bullshit. Today, your parents can't get off Facebook. Your parents can't stop looking at your Instagram. Today, your parents can't stop. They're never going to say you were right, ever. But they were wrong. And the reason, and you know why you know that they were wrong? Because they're not fucking rich right now. Because if they had said, damn, this is something I need to get into earlier on, they would be rich right now. They would have more money. They would have figured out a way to monetize, to create more value, to get more invested into that particular innovation. In 2023, it is your responsibility to not bet against yourself and to not bet against your innovation and not bet against these innovations. Look, you're never going to know everything. Right? Let me give you this example. So Gabrielle is out. He's saying here, we are questioning Bitcoin, and I agree. We're questioning Bitcoin because of ignorance. Still, we want to learn more about it. So where do you suggest we can start? So let me say something here. You don't know how the dollar works. Let's be real. You don't know how the dollar works. You don't know why they print so much of it. You don't know when they print it. You don't know how they print it. You don't know how it works. You don't know how the financial system works anymore. Nobody does. In fact, go to Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, I would imagine everybody here knows who Warren Buffett is. Go to Warren Buffett's most recent interview. He just did a most recent interview. Just put in Warren Buffett recent interview on YouTube, okay? Go watch his most recent interview. He himself admits that he has no idea. Let me see. Testing. Let me see if it blanks out. Testing. Can you guys hear me okay? Good. Yes. Can't hear nothing? Muted? Can't hear it? Damn, no audio? Really? Okay, good. Okay. So look. Warren Buffett says in his most recent interview, he says he has no idea how the financial system works anymore. He's like, I have no idea how it works anymore. I don't know how brokerages transact. I don't know what they do with my money the moment I send them money. I'm not even sure. Back in the day, I knew every single step of the transactional process to execute a trade and to buy into these businesses. And today, I can't even understand. I can't even understand how the transactions work. I don't know where there's manipulation. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to explain it to you. This is coming from Warren fucking Buffett. Warren Buffett, the guy that runs billions of dollars a day in transactional volume, probably one of the biggest whales in the world, if not the biggest in the stock market and in buying acquisitions of huge businesses. Dude, if this guy doesn't know how the financial system works, how the fuck are you gonna know how the financial system works? You're not. So it's very simple. It's very clear. This is why Bitcoin exists. In fact, Bitcoin exists because it's so transparent. It is literally completely 100% transparent. You can see everything on a ledger. Everything is fully transparent on the blockchain. You can see if things are being minted or created. You can see if things are fake. You can see if things are not going through. You can see what's happening. You can see who owns, how many Bitcoin they own. You can see where they're mining the Bitcoin, how much they're mining. You can see the rewards, every block of a transaction that's being mined. You are never going to ever see that happen in fiat currencies. You have no idea if the money that they're printing in a printer is just like, okay, they're telling us this, but then they're putting all of this other money away on the side. If they can print money, you don't think that they're just going to store a lot of it to the side and be like, oh, let's just put a little bit to the side here and see what happens? Like, we have no control over this, and when we don't have control over it, at least we had some control when gold, because we knew that we had to go to the ground and we had to go and mine it to take the gold out, and then we had to like convert it into some, and it was physical, tangible, it was real, it was there, and that's why it worked. But when we went away from gold, it became a shit show. Now it's like, how do you know what they're saying? They're about to print out this omnibus plan of $1.7 trillion, dude. $1.7 trillion is an insane amount of money. 40 plus billion of that is going to Ukraine. It's an incredible amount of money to send to a country that we don't even talk about. When did we get involved in Ukraine shit? When have we ever decided to go and do war stuff over there with Russia and get involved? They're not even a NATO ally. What the fuck are we doing over there? Putting all of our billions of tax dollars into a country that we don't have. Yeah, I understand that's a problem, and it's a tragedy, and it's sad to see that. But it's just to inform you that we have a bunch of money that we work hard as fuck for, and that our children are going to be in debt on, going to places that we can't even fucking control. The only thing you can control is putting your money into places that you know 100% where it's at, where it's going to, and what it's going to be in some capacity, what it's going to do for you, what it's going to be worth for you. And the dollar ain't that. I'm telling you this right now. And so these are things that you want to put into perspective, because right now, going into 2030, we might see they're saying, a lot of people are saying that we hit this alternate timeline a couple years ago. I'm starting to think that that shit is true. Ben Shapiro just said that recently on an interview. He said, in 2012, 2013, we went into a Mandela effect timeline change where we went into a whole other alternate reality. We went into a completely different alternate reality. We turned on the collider, and we went to a whole other dimension, bro. Whole other sequence of events happened. 2012, 2013, we went into a completely different alternate reality. Could that be the case? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not somebody that likes to talk about those things. But for me, the writing is clearly on the wall that we're going into another world that we've never seen or anticipated before. And it always takes effect financially. And if you go back, like I told you, macro and microeconomics, I was a history major. For me, I love history, bro. My passion is history. I love history. So if you go back, history repeats itself all the time. The first thing that always happens is there's a creation of confusion that takes place in a certain society, in a certain economy. They create internal friction and confusion, and they start putting people to battle against each other, confusing them and giving them alternate perspectives and making it where people are pinned against each other in their local areas. Before you know it, it's very easy to come in and then hurt them financially. It's very easy to hurt them financially. And then once you hurt them financially, the next thing is you can kind of swoop in and start buying everything in a very cheap way. And so that's what's happened in many, many, many ways in many different countries, in many different places. And it is a strategy that's been used forever. Forever. A great question, right? Richard, but why Buffett said he wouldn't buy Bitcoin even if it's $25? Okay. Let me explain to you why. Because Buffett isn't someone that is going to buy Bitcoin. His legacy would be something like building the infrastructure that supports Bitcoin, right? I want you to think about it this way. Buffett is not interested in buying and selling stocks as much as he is in buying businesses and building businesses, right? That he says this in every interview. In every interview, he talks about this. So if Buffett is more vested in buying businesses, then why would he want to buy Bitcoin when he can build the infrastructure that supports the new currencies of the future? The Winklevoss twins also said this in an incredible way. They said, we don't want to just invest in Bitcoin. We want to invest in the network that supports the infrastructure for Bitcoin, because later on, we'll be owners of the internet. You want to be the owner of the internet. You don't want to be an investor in the internet, right? You understand what I mean? Like, you can invest in the internet and buy and sell domains, and you can own real estate on the internet. But these guys are thinking at a completely different level. They're not looking to own the assets that the internet contains. They're looking to actually own the infrastructure that provides the internet to the world. So if I was Buffett, I would be looking to own the infrastructure of satellites to scale a currency like that, and instead I would have the power to turn it on and turn it off whenever I so desire. It would be far more valuable to own the infrastructure that supports the internet than it is, like, think about it this way, right? Like, would you rather want to own the power grid, or would you rather want to own the coal companies that provide the coal to the power grid? You want to own the coal companies. You don't want to own the power grid, because the power grid relies on the coal that's being burned in order for you to produce energy. So what Buffett is thinking, and what the biggest guys in the world right now are thinking, is I can have a legacy of ownership in the coal companies that produce the energy to society. And so that is, in and of itself, that is a whole other level of thinking. And none of these, obviously, I mean, we don't know where anything is going. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know, but all I can say is that when you see an innovation, you shouldn't turn your face away from it and be like, you know what, I'm not going to invest in it because it's not an innovation. It's like, dude, it's a fucking innovation. It's pretty clear. Like, if you don't believe that it's an innovation, then fine. But like, it's going to be here even probably after you pass away. It's probably still going to be here, more than likely. So why wouldn't you invest in it? Right? Again, I'm also not saying to go out and buy Bitcoin right now. That's not what I'm saying to do. What I am saying to do is to get a position into these investments, right? That's all I'm saying to do. Dollar cost average, little by little, week after week, $100, $150, $200 into Bitcoin. Just buy a little bit of it, buy a little bit of it, buy a little bit of it, just a little bit every week. Just buy a little bit of it. If you can save money, if you can save $150, $200, $300, take 20% of that, 30% of that, and put it into Bitcoin. Just put a little bit into it, a little bit into it, a little bit into it. And if you get to the point in 10 years that you've been just little by little just acquiring, and it has been compounding and it has been growing, then think about it as investing in an S&P 500 ETF. It's the same thing, if you really think about it. If Bitcoin is programmed to go up, which it is, and we all know that that's the case because there aren't a lot of Bitcoin. There's only 21 million Bitcoin, right? So, and a lot of them are lost. Probably 5 million of those are gone. Like, people just lost them in a ledger, they're gone. So if there's only 21 million Bitcoin or less, it's programmed to rise. And if it's programmed to rise, then it's kind of like the stock market. The stock market is programmed to rise because inflation creates a rising effect of the stock market's values, right? If you have inflation dilutes currency. When inflation dilutes currency, that means that for $1, you need $10 now, right? So you're still using $1, but you basically need 10 of them to buy the same thing 5 years ago that you needed just $1 for. So you want to buy a loaf of bread, it's going to cost you $8 today. But before, it used to cost you $2. That's dilution. That is what happens when you have, over time, you have inflation, right? So that's a huge loss. That's a hidden tax that they create on currency, on fiat currency. So, but what that happens to do to the stock market is it raises values artificially, but it still raises values. So if you're buying stocks today at $5, a $5 stock, but dilution becomes an effect on that stock, then the value of that stock since it's diluting because of the currency, it's going to be worth $15 now. You might think, damn, I bought something at 5, now it's worth 15. The thing is that in the time it went from 5 to 15, the value of money also, you needed $15 for the equivalent of what used to be $5. So this is how things change over time, right? But this is why you have this effect when your mind, you're like, well, I could win in the stock market over time because it's programmed to rise. It's really programmed to keep up with inflation. That's probably a better way of saying it, right? So if it's programmed to keep up with inflation, then everything that you buy in the stock market that's good is likely to continue rising up, higher and higher in value because dilution is taking effect on the dollar itself. So if Bitcoin is programmed to rise based off of inflation, same thing, and there's only a limited amount of them, then you're investing in an S&P 500 ETF, which is also likely to continue rising over time. Whether it goes up or down in the interim, the trajectory is still up over time because it's systematically programmed to rise. It is the entire concept around it is that it needs to keep up with these inflation or dilutions that are happening in the market. So over time, it continues to rise. Which brings me to real estate, right? Which brings me to real estate. Real estate is also programmed to rise. Real estate is also programmed to rise. And so if you think about it, the longer you hold real estate, the more likely you are, even if you bought a bad deal today, even if you bought a deal in 2022, if you bought a deal in 2008, you would still be in the money today. You'd still be in the money today. And that was one of the worst issues financially that we've ever seen before in the last 100+ years in the modern day world. We had one of the worst catastrophes that happened in 2008 from a financial perspective around the entire world. And 10 years later, 15 years later, you would still be in the green. You'd be in the profit off of real estate. It kind of goes to show you that these things are programmed. They're all programmed, right? To rise. That's an incredible thing. That's an incredible thing. For those of you guys, first, thank you guys for being on here. If you guys are enjoying this, give me a little thumbs up. Give me some feedback. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you guys are getting a little bit of value, if you're getting sometimes you might just be like, you know what, this just opened my eyes to things that I wasn't thinking about. It could be interesting ways to think about it. You know, these are other perspectives. You know, it's not something. I'm not saying that this is this is the only way to think about it. This is just my perspective, right? I've been investing for 15 years. What's your motivation to help others? Dude, look, right here. People that are messaging saying, yo, this is really good information, this is good advice, this helps me. And plus, it's a way for me to also kind of like think through a lot of the things that I like, I enjoy. You know, some people love cars. Some people love sports. I like investing. This is my thing. I fucking love it. I love investing. I'm the guy that when you go and sit down, when you have your cousins over and I'm your cousin, I come over to your house, I'm going to probably, the only thing I'm going to be talking about is investing stuff. And every time you talk to me, you know that one of you know that I'm the guy that you're going to talk to about investing stuff. You have other guys that you're going to talk to about girls. You're going to have other guys that you're going to talk to about cars. You're going to have other guys you're going to talk to about vacations. You're going to have other guys, you're going to have people for everything. I'm going to be the guy that you're going to end up, most times I'm the guy that when you're sitting down at a table, it's like, if it's not about investing, I'm not super interested in the conversation. I'm like, like, I'm here, but like I'm not mentally not here. I'm still thinking about these other investment things in the world. But I will always bring it back to talking about investing. I love investing. It's my passion. Why? Because when you have seen benefits, from something and you've been doing it for such a long time and you've seen benefits from it and you've seen that it's changed your life, then you've seen that your family's life has changed and you've seen that all these things have helped you, you're going to talk about it. You're going to tell people about it. You're going to be like, yo, look at what I've gone through. Look at what has helped me. Look at how I've thought about it. Right? This is why I share it. That's it. You know? Some people will keep it to themselves. It's okay. Right? The biggest investors in the world, you might think, oh, they keep it to themselves. No, they don't. All of the biggest investors in the world, they all talk about their investments. They love it. They have pride in it. And when you love something so much, you talk about it. I love my wife. I talk about her all the time. I show her off all the time. Because I'm very proud of my relationship with my wife. I'm very proud of my relationship with my wife. People told us that we were going to get divorced when we first got married because we were young. She was 18 years old. We got pregnant 2 months after we got together. We got married in less than a year when we got together. Like, people told us immediately, you guys are going to get divorced. You guys are not going to make it. You're not going to make it. And for me, I was like, you know, dude, we almost 11 years now. We've been together. 11 years. 3 children. Our oldest son is almost 10 years old, and we've been together, happily married. We don't fight. We never argue. We never have a problem. Money has solved an incredible amount of problems for me and my wife in an unexplainable way. In an unexplainable way. Money has brought me closer to my children, not further. Money has given me the ability to be closer to my family than I've ever had the ability before. When I was broke and now that I'm rich, I can tell you right now, there's no comparison. No comparison. Because when I was broke, all I was thinking about was money. So I didn't have the time to think about my family. I didn't have the time to think about my relationships. I didn't have the time to think because all I was thinking about was the grind, the hustle. I needed to make it. I gotta make it. I gotta make it. When you make it and you finally have money, you realize I got money already. So it's not really about me thinking. I don't think about money that much anymore. For me, I'm just thinking about my family. I'm just thinking about my time. I'm thinking about things I enjoy. I'm just thinking about like living life, being healthy, going traveling, making memories with them. That's really all I'm thinking about. That's it. So imagine when you think about that, it's like it's the common thing, right? It's like once you have it, you stop. You're not like, oh, let me fucking go and stay on, No, it's like once you have it, that is now no longer a roadblock to you anymore. It's no longer a thing. You guys are going through that every day. When you are sitting there and you're telling yourself, I need money, it's the cause of frustration, of fights, of arguments. It's the cause of not going out and doing things and cherishing these moments and doing a lot of things that you hold back on because you don't have money. Because you don't have money. But let me tell you, if you were to take the money equation out of the way, and right now you had all the money in the world, what would you really think about? You would think about your family, you think about your time, you think about your health, you think about your hobbies, you think about cool shit that you want to do and start, and if it fails, whatever, go start something else. You think about your investments, and you would have a significantly better life. And you would live in the now. You wouldn't live in the future. You wouldn't live in the past. You would live in the now. It would be an incredible way of living your life. But the reason why most people forget about the now and they're thinking about the future so much is because they're chasing money. And I just want to remind you guys that don't chase the money, because chasing money is actually not the way you're going to get rich. The way you really get rich is by helping somebody, and in turn, by helping someone, they will pay you, right? That's the way that, like, for me and Val, let me give you this example, all right? This is a great example. A great example. Instead of buying ourselves a house, instead of me and Val buying ourselves a house and thinking selfishly, oh, let's buy ourselves a house because we want a shelter. We want to have a nice backyard. We want to have the proximity to the good schools. We want to have our kids living in a good place. We want to have all this stuff. We. Instead of us thinking like that when we first started, right? When we first started, instead of thinking like that, thinking selfishly, oh, well, what am I going to do with the money that I have? How am I going to buy the things that I want with the money that I have? Instead of thinking that way, we thought about, what if we give a backyard to somebody else? What if we give shelter to somebody else? What if we give proximity to a school to somebody else and they pay us for it? And then we just rinse and repeat that same process. If we provide shelter for somebody else's family and they pay us for it, they're working for us. Okay, if we do that again and again and again and again, we're not going to call them employees, but they're definitely employees. They're producing revenue for us. They're income producing assets. Our tenants are assets to our lives. They spend and give us money on our product. Our product is the shelter that we're providing to them. So instead of thinking about ourselves at the very beginning and thinking about what am I going to do with the money, instead I thought about how can I get this money to help other people, and in return, they will pay me for me helping them. And I know you might think, oh, Well, how are you really helping somebody with shelter? They can just go and get a shelter anywhere. Well, that's the point. If you own the shelter, you're one of the benefiters that's giving them the value. Like a lot of people have been recently telling me that rent is so high. Oh my God, rent is so expensive. And I said, and I'll say on the opposite side, yeah, rent is so expensive. And they're like, why are you smiling? And I'm like, because I'm a landlord. Rents are good for me. Like they're not good for you when you don't own anything, but they're great for me. It's two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. Rents are too expensive. Rents are expensive. Rents are too expensive. Rents are expensive. It's the same coin. It's just, how do you see it? Glass half full or glass half empty? How do you see it? How are you putting your money to work? Are you thinking about, oh, rent's too expensive? Or are you thinking about, damn, I'm making money off rents? This is why you have to put it into perspective from the very beginning. And then let me share this with you because this is also important. One side of each coin, if you share with your children, the side that rents are too expensive, instead of my rents are going up because I'm making money off these rents, if you share with them the glass half empty instead of the glass half full, they're going to be just like you. They're going to be empty. They're going to be empty. They're not going to be full. Just saying it. Just saying it. This is how the rich think. This is how the rich teach their kids. This is how the rich become rich. This is how the rich continue to get rich. You can see the biggest fuck-ups out there that come from money. Still somehow they make it. They do drugs. They do crazy shit. They party all the time. But then you still see them. They're still rich. They still make it. You're just like, how the fuck is this possible? Because they're thinking in a way that you're not. They're always thinking that this is half full. Like, oh, this is half full. I can do something with this. I can do something with this. Most people are thinking about this and saying, oh, this is empty. And again, it's the same thing when it comes to your rents. Half the people, most of you guys are sitting there saying, oh, rents are too expensive right now, Rich. I just can't do it. And on the opposite side, I'm saying, yeah, bro, rents are too expensive right now. I'm making more money than I've ever made before because rents are so expensive right now. It's the same coin. It's just different sides. Which side do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side that says rents are too expensive? Or do you want to be on the side that's making money off rents? It's up to you. It's your choice to be on one side or the other. It's just a matter of how you look at life and how you invest your money and how you put it into perspective. And me and Val, when we first started, we looked at life and said, we can sacrifice the house and we can sacrifice the car and we can sacrifice giving a fuck about anybody telling us that our house was a piece of shit and that our car was a piece of shit and that our kids were living in filth and that we were living on inflatables and I can't believe that you have the kids living in your same room. You have a 1-bedroom apartment. How are you living in the 1-bedroom apartment? Richard, you have 2 kids already. You guys, your girl's gonna leave you. She's gonna leave you. You're living in a 2-bedroom apartment, in a 1-bedroom apartment. You guys are. How can you live with your kids in your same bed all the time? They need their own space. They need their. Dude, make the fucking sacrifice, bro. Make the sacrifice, bro. Who cares? Who cares? In fact, most times your family gets so much closer. Most times your family gets so much closer when you make the sacrifice, bro. Sacrifice is part of the process. When you are sitting there and you're worried about the sacrifice, you are sacrificing one of the most important parts of wealth creation. One of the most important parts of wealth creation is the sacrifice. It's one of the most important parts. Because if you don't know how to, they say this all the time. If you don't know how to invest $10,000, you don't know how to invest $100,000. If you don't know how to invest $100,000, then you don't know how to invest $1 million. Right. But if you don't know how to sacrifice at $10,000, you're not going to learn how to sacrifice at $100,000. And you're not going to learn how to sacrifice at $1 million. And if you don't learn how to sacrifice at all of these levels, you're always going to be sacrificing. Like right now, I could have a Lamborghini. I could have all the shit that I want. But I'm sacrificing not buying that shit so I can keep on with my life and my journey and my experiences and the things that I actually really truly cherish and that I want. Could I go buy all those things? Sure, but I wouldn't be sacrificing. I wouldn't be sacrificing. And there would be a cost of getting those things now. There would be a cost of getting those things now. The cost would be that to spend $5,000 more a month on a Lambo and to put $100,000, which my 3 kids don't even fit in a fucking Lambo. So to spend on the Lambo and to buy the multi-million-dollar house and put $1 million down to live in this multi-million-dollar house that's 3 blocks away from the school, and then the school is a private school and all this. When I spend all that money and all that shit, and I'm not sacrificing anything, I'm going to have to sacrifice something. And that something is probably going to be my time, more work. I'm going to have to do more to have those things. I'm going to have to do more. I'm going to have to spend more money, more time, more effort. I'm going to be away from my children. The sacrifice is going to be being away from my kids. The sacrifice is going to be being away from my life. The sacrifice is not having a fucking life. If you're smart, you'll take the path of least resistance, and that's making investments and let those investments build up and compound where eventually those investments can become the replacement to you not having to do all of those things. And eventually your investments are producing enough income for you that you don't have to make as many sacrifices anymore. So for us, when we first started, we had everything we were sacrificing. It was like everything on the list, sacrifice, everything. Going out, eating nice, date nights, fucking babysitters, everything. All of it, sacrifices. Everything sacrifices. Eventually, some of those things started falling off the list. Not sacrificing. Now we can eat out. Now we can spend money on going to, date nights. Now we can, go on vacation. Now we can so before you know it, boom. Everything on the list that you were